Welcome back to the channel, 40k Theorist. Yes, I have braids today. We're going to be taking a look at the creations of Bile detachment. This is the new detachment for the Chaos Space Marines. We're also going to be taking a look at the Librarius Conclave, I think it's called. I'm like a day behind making these, and a lot of stuff came out yesterday, like the Balanced Data Slate, the Minotaur and Field Manual, the Core Rules Commentary. It's all been updated, so here I am making some more videos and going over all this stuff. So, we're going to go over the creations of Bile. It's pretty... I'm not sure how to feel about it. I feel like it could be really good, or it could kind of just be a flop. You'll have to tell me down below, so make sure to thunderhammer the like, the subscribe button, the bell icon, leave the comment like I said. Check out the other videos, check out the other channel. Let's just get into this. So, our detachment rule is... Where's my cursor? Here it is. Experimental augmentations. And I'm sorry if the audio sounds a little tinny. I don't have the room soundproofed because I usually put stuff over my computer and stuff, and I use my laptop to record usually. But because I'm doing this on my PC, my desktop PC, it's not going to sound quite as good. Anyway, alright, this is what we get. At the start of the battle, select which augmentations are active for Heretic Astartes infantry models, excluding damned models, from your army until the end of the battle. To do so, either select one from the list below, or randomly determine two by rolling 2d6. If Fabius Bile is your warlord, when randomly determining your augmentations, you can reroll one or both of the dice. Duplicated augmentations have no additional effect. You should just reroll it, but okay. So this is what we get. On a 1, and I have zoomed this in a little bit more, so hopefully there's less, dead space on the screen and more stuff you guys can read. We have okay. Clolingeric accelerants. Whatever. Add 1 to the attacks characteristic of melee weapons equipped by this model. So basically, if it's an infantry unit, it gains this ability. So +1 attack. Not bad. That's army-wide. So you could just pick these, remember, or you can randomly generate 2 of them if your army's kind of built that way. We then have Hyper-Adrenal Infusion. That's add 2 inches to the move characteristic of this model. This is very strong. +2 move to your whole army, practically. It's pretty good. And we'll get to some of the enhancements and the stratagems a little later on, and this will become even better. We then have Pan-Neural Reactions, improve the weapon skill characteristic of melee weapons equipped by this model by 1. So basically weapon skill 2+, kind of army-wide. That's kind of a big deal. Super Actuneus... I can't, dude, I can't. The third one. The fourth one, improve the toughness characteristic of this model by 1. Jeez, I literally can't pronounce that. I can't pronounce it. I can't do it. This says chitination? Okay. Super Actanius chitination? Why does anybody watch these videos? That is +1 toughness to your whole army. Very, very strong. Macrotensile Sinews. Add 1 to the strength characteristic of melee weapons equipped by this model. Not bad. And then we have Ophilanthromic Enhancement. Yeah, you know what? We're fucking done. Improve the ballistic skill characteristic of ranged weapons equipped by this model by 1. I didn't try pronouncing these when I read them in my head earlier, so... that's what happens here. +1 ballistic skill, 2 up to hit the whole army. So that's also really, really strong. So a lot of these are pretty damn good, but you're going to have to pick 1 or randomly choose 2, and then you can reroll it if you have Fabius Bile as your warlord. So that's why I'm not sure if it's good or not, because some of these are really strong. Other ones aren't so much that strong, especially if you're taking Abaddon, but I guess you just don't take Abaddon in this detachment. So I'm just not sure at the moment if this detachment is really all that strong. My initial reaction is that it is pretty good, because if you take a bunch of legionaries, they're going to get access to all of this stuff. It affects all of them. They all have guns, they all have melee, they like having better strength, they like having better toughness, they like moving faster. They can benefit from all these things, and they have full rerolls to wound if you're on an objective. And they're cheap. They're 170 points for 10. Alright, so our first enhancement is Surgical Precision for 10 points. Heretic Astartes model only. The bearer's melee weapons have precision. It's pretty good on a Chaos Lord who has a Dev Wound Thunderhammer that gets +1 strength, damage, AP, and attacks once per game. Put him with a unit of Legionaries, now he's re-rolling all of his wounds. We don't necessarily need to do that because of some of our stratagems, but having precision on that, yeah, he'll just kill a character very, very easily. Living Carapace for 15 points, Chaos Lord only. Add one to the bear's wounds characteristic, and the bear has Feel No Pain 5+. For 15 points, I really can't complain about this. +1 wound makes him 6 wounds. 5 up Feel No Pain basically gives him an additional 2-ish wounds. So the 5 up Feel No Pain, it's not super useful unless the enemy also has precision, in which case he actually is pretty annoying to get rid of at that point. Unless you're hitting him with like Magnus or something. Helm of the All-Seeing. This is very good. 25 points. Heretic Astartes infantry model only, excluding damned models. Enemy units that are set up on the battlefield from reserves cannot be set up within 12 inches of the bearer. You stick this guy in your backfield, and your backfield is just safe. So that, I think, is completely worth 25 points. And then we have the Prime Test Subject for 35 points. Heretic Astartes infantry model, excluding damned models only. Add one to the damage characteristic of melee weapons equipped by the bearer. Each time the bearer makes a melee attack, you can re-roll the hit roll. Again, very, very strong on a Chaos Lord. His damage can become 4 at that point. That's awesome. 6 attacks at strength 9, AP 3, flat 4 damage with full rerolls to hit with your packs as well, so probably with sustained hits. And then rerolls to wound if he's in a unit of Legionaries, or if you use a strat that we're going to get to in a second. Seems pretty good. Speaking of strats, let's take a look. Our first one is our Monstrous Visage. Your opponent's shooting phase, this is when you do it. It's in your opponent's shooting phase or the fight phase just after an enemy unit has selected its targets. You target a Heretic Astartes infantry unit from your army that was the target of those attacks until the end of the phase. Each time an attack targets your unit, subtract 1 from the hit roll. This can actually be pretty impactful against certain things, especially because you can use this in the fight phase. That's not very common for stratagems like make you -1 to hit. There's a couple of them out there, but generally speaking, they're usually giving you stealth and that kind of stuff. So this is nice to have, especially if somebody's hitting on 3s and has just like crap load of attacks. That actually becomes mathematically pretty significant. So I like it. It's fine. It's not amazing, but it's good against certain targets. We then have the Masters Are Watching. This is in the fight phase, just after an enemy unit selects its target. You target a Heretic Astartes infantry unit from your army that was the target of those attacks until the end of the phase. Each time a model in your unit is destroyed, if it has not fought, roll a d6, subtracting 1. If it is a damned unit, on a 4+, do not remove it from play. That destroyed model can fight after the attacking unit has finished making its attacks, and then it's removed from play. So it's a fight on death strat. It's a little bit different than other ones that we see, where they get +1 if you're in a certain doctrine, or if you're a certain unit, or, you know, insert some sort of caveat here. This one is actually -1 if it's a damned unit. So that's what we get. We then have specimens for the Spider. This is 2 CP. I didn't actually notice this when I first read it. It's 2 CP. It's in the fight phase. You target a Heretic Astartes infantry unit from your army that has not been selected to fight until the end of the phase. Each time a model in your unit makes a melee attack that targets a character unit. So basically, as long as it's not a vehicle, and as long as it's not some random scout squad or other kind of secondary unit, as I call them, it's going to have a character attached most likely, and that is a character unit. What do you get? You get rerolls to wound. So if you didn't want to take Legionaries, and you wanted to take, like, I don't know, Chosen or something, because I think Chosen fit into this detachment pretty well as well, they now have full rerolls to wound, which is pretty awesome. So reroll the wound. After you have fought, if one or more enemy character models were destroyed as a result of those attacks, select one enemy unit within 6 inches of your unit. That enemy unit must take a battle shock test. If the enemy warlord was destroyed as a result of those attacks, each enemy unit within 6 inches of your unit must take a battle shock test instead. So I don't like the battle shock portion of this, unless it's the warlord. Being able to make a bunch of stuff take battle shock test, even though it's not at -1 or with any other kind of caveats, that's not terrible. So, pretty good. Now, you can have a dude with precision, because you can put a strat on your Chaos Lord to give him precision, who's now 4 damage with an extra attack. I think that's what it gave him, the enhancement just above. Either way, the 4 damage is what we care about. You're probably going to kill the character, and then force a battle shock test on everything around it. So that is pretty good. But for 2 CP, we then have Delayed Mutations. This is also 2 CP. It's in your command phase. You target a Heretic Astartes infantry unit, not damned units, from your army. You suffer D3 mortal wounds. You then select one augmentation from the list above there. Until the start of your next command phase, models in your unit have the selected augmentation in addition to other augmentations that they have. So you could theoretically have 3 augmentations on a unit. If Fabius Bile is with that unit, he basically gives them +1 strength and +1 toughness. I'm pretty sure that's what he gives them. So they could also be, you know, +1 weapon skill, moving faster, and other stuff like that. So, yeah, +1 plus another toughness. Fuck it. So that's pretty cool. That's 2 CP, and you're hurting yourself to do it. But on certain units, that can become pretty impactful pretty quickly, depending on how you stack the different buffs together and the characters you have attached and all that, and how it kind of comes together. That can actually be very, very, very powerful. We then have Diabolic Regeneration. This one's also really good. It's 1 CP. It's in your command phase. You target a Heretic Astartes infantry unit from your army that isn't a damned unit. 1 destroyed model, excluding a character, which I think we probably knew, is returned to the unit. If it's a battle line unit, you can return D3 destroyed models to the unit instead. So again, if you're taking Legionaries, they're a battle line unit. You can return D3 of them to the unit. That's pretty good, especially when Abaddon's nearby, giving them a 5-up or a 4-up invuln. Maybe their toughness 5. This is very, very good to have. Well, then our last one here is our Auto Stimulants. 1 CP, it's in the start of your charge phase. You target a Heretic Astartes infantry unit from your army. They're eligible to charge in a turn in which they advanced. So, if you don't want to take Chosen, and you just want your Legionaries to just be moving 8 inches because you get +2 move, and then be able to advance and charge, you have a strat for that, for 1 CP. So, overall, I think if you just spam Chosen and or Legionaries and put Chaos Lords in there, probably take what's-his-face as your Warlord, Fabius Bile, this is actually a pretty good detachment. You roll 2d6, they're probably going to be ones that you want, and if they're not, you can re-roll them. I think that that is very, very good. You then have this strat to give them a 3rd or a 2nd if you decide to pick a specific one, if your army's kind of built around it. You can have different units that are built around getting 2 because of the stratagem here. You won't use them at the same time, but you have that option. And because there's so much going on here, my brain has turned to mush. There's a lot of options here. There's 6 different things that you can choose from. Combining that with your stratagems, there's just a lot of different things you can do. So initially what I was thinking was that Accursed Cultists would be good in this detachment if they were like toughness 5 or if they had a +2 move. But if you read the detachment rule, it excludes damned units. So your Cultist, your Accursed Cultist, anything with the damned keyword, it does not get access to these. So what are we left with? Well, Legionaries, Terminators, Chosen, Obliterators. And Obliterators are funny. I just don't think that they're that good. Like for 60 points for 2 of them, I'm not sure. You could make them toughness 8. You could make them, the +1 attack isn't super impactful on them, but being weapon skill 2+ or ballistic skill 2+, that is also very impactful on Obliterators. So you have a lot of different options here with what you can do and the way that you can build your army. So I'm going to leave that to you guys to figure out because I just don't want to make this video 5 hours long. So you combine this with all of these enhancements here, specifically this, gaining precision on a Lord with a Thunderhammer. That's very, very good. He'll kill a character, like easily kill a character, and even like a good character. He'll kill a Custodes character. The Living Carapace, it's okay. It's not terrible. I mean, for its points, it's worth taking. It's just kind of outweighed by some of the other ones, like the Helm of the All-Seeing. The only lone op that I can think of that you have is Cypher. Correct me if I'm wrong there, but you don't necessarily need to put this on a lone op, because if you put him in your backfield behind the ruin that's in your backfield, your whole backfield is just safe at that point. You don't need to worry about people deep striking in on you. 3-inch deep strikes, which are changed to 6-inch deep strikes now, they just don't work. You have to be 12 inches away from him. So this is just, you take this every time. If you're playing this detachment, you're taking Helm of the All-Seeing. At least you should be. And then the prime test subject, +1 damage, and reroll hits. I actually forgot about that. So you have sustained hits from a Dark Pact. You get 6 attacks on the turn that you care about it. You reroll all your hits, so you should be getting like 2 extra hits. You'll probably miss with 1, but it depends how the dice roll out. It's going to be about 2 extra hits on average off the top of my head here. 2 extra hits at 4 damage with dev wounds, rerolling all your wounds if you need it. That seems pretty good. Pretty good. So it seems good to me. The detachment itself, it seems good because of the things that it has. I'm just not sure how good it really is. But I do think if you spam Legionaries, maybe some Chosen, yeah, I could see this getting pretty out of hand pretty quickly. Legionaries moving 8 inches with an advance, or being toughness 5, maybe having an extra attack because they do have a lot of close combat weapons in those units. They start becoming very, very good for 170 points. Now, if that's all your army is, maybe you want some other stuff in there, like Obliterators and things that can take out big, hard targets, but I don't know, maybe just take 6 squads of Legionaries and just call it a day. Or maybe you take 4, 3 with Chaos Lords, 1 with Bile, and just call it a day, and then put other stuff in there. I'm not really sure, but that's my initial reaction, is that it feels like this is a really good detachment. I just can't quite tell you why, other than the enhancements are good, most of the strats are good, and the detachment rule seems like it would be very beneficial to all of your infantry that you take. So, that's going to do it for this detachment. Let me know what you guys think about it down below. Tell me if I'm right, tell me if I'm wrong, tell me what combos you can come up with here. And yeah, I just want to hear from you guys on this one, if you can. So that's going to do it for this episode. If you liked the video, thunderhammer the like, subscribe, and bell icon. Check out our other videos. Leave a comment like I've said like 5 times. And check out the other channel where I get very angry playing video games on hard mode. Alright, that's going to do it. So theory hard, my friends, and I'll see you guys back at the lab. It's 6:45 already? Fuck me.